Hello, everybody. Welcome. My name is Anna Bryce, and I am the VP of Programming at the AMA Phoenix. And welcome. We are really happy to have you here joining us on this Thursday afternoon. And we are thrilled to be welcoming our speaker today, Tim Hines, all the way from Austin, Texas. So I will introduce him in a moment. I just want to take care of some quick housekeeping items. So one thing I would like to thank our sponsors. We really appreciate all that they do for us, and they make all this possible. I would like to, in particular, point out Financial Potion. Elizabeth from Financial Potion is with us today. Taylor Wellman is actually out shooting some videos right now. So if you have video needs and you want to get in touch with Taylor, just let me know and I can connect you. And then we would also like to thank our board members. We have such a great team of marketers, and again, everything that we do, it's all dependent on our board members, and we do thank them for the hard work that they do. And real quick, I just want to mention that we have opened up our call for entries for our Spectrum Awards, which are going to be Wednesday, May 18th. And so please enter your best marketing campaigns for the year 2021. We're having it in person this year, so we do look forward to seeing everybody. And then also, I would like to welcome to this webinar people who are joining us in the audience who are Spectrum winners from last year. So we have Lisa from Shasta Pools, Elise from Prism Global Marketing Solutions, Melissa from Calling Media, and Bree from Anchor Inc. PR and Marketing, all joining us today. So thank you for joining us and taking the time. And I would like to now just get straight into introducing our speaker. We are thrilled to have Tim Hines with us from Austin, Texas. Again, we're taking advantage of getting really great speakers who don't necessarily live in our area when we have these webinars. So Tim, we thank you for coming. He is from The Marketing Starter. He is an author. He is a podcast show host, a keynote speaker, and a consultant who shows people how to harness the power of the entrepreneurial spirit to excel at all they do. We are really excited to talk to Tim. One thing he specializes in his work with his clients is developing omni-channel marketing programs within the tech industry. So Tim, welcome. Thank you for joining us, and we are very excited to hear from you. And one thing I do want to mention is that Tim has a book coming out. It's coming out on March 29th, so this is perfect timing for Tim to be speaking with us today. Tim, welcome, and we are thrilled to have you here today.
Thank you, and it's great to be here with your AMA. Hi, everyone. Virtual handshake and virtual hugs. I was glad to hear that you guys are going to start having stuff in person again, but it is obviously nice to be able to connect and share ideas when you're in a different state and a different metro. It's good to be able to do that virtually. As Anna said, my name is Tim Hines, and I am coming to you guys today to talk about how we can mix up our marketing channels in what is the post-digital age. And one of the things when I do this presentation is I do ask a question, which you guys can put in the chat, because I would be interested to see this, is how many of you have heard of post-digital and know what post-digital is? So if you're able to pop that into the chat, we can take a look at that as the presentation goes. But I think it's always interesting to ask this question because it's kind of a new type of thinking and a new movement that marketing is moving into. So that's what I'm excited to share with you guys today, and how we can be a little more human and a little less robotic in the way that we're marketing going forward. So who the heck am I? I mean, Anna did a great job of introducing me. It's almost like I didn't send you that bio ahead of time. Like you just knew it, like right off the top of her head. She's just that good. Anyway, so my name is Tim Hines, and I am a professional marketer and consultant. I've been doing marketing for almost 20 years. I currently run the Marketing Starter group, where we do consulting, mostly strategic consulting. And we focus on product marketing and go-to-market planning. I work with a lot of startups in the tech industry, but also a lot of different companies as well. But that's kind of been my main focus. As she mentioned, I'm also an author of the book, The Marketing Starter, which is right here, which I'll talk about at the end of the presentation, how you guys can get one. I'm a speaker, ta-da, here with you today, and podcaster. My podcast is actually called The Marketing Starter Podcast. As you can kind of see, there's a theme across all of my brands. The book, the group, and the podcast are all named the same thing. So you guys can subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. That would be awesome. But in that show, I actually interview marketing thought leaders from all over the world, actually, that harness the entrepreneurial spirit and what they do in marketing. And if you know of anyone, or if you'd like to be featured on the show, hit me up. Would love to talk about that and possibly hear about your starter marketing story. I don't care what level you're at. You could be first year marketer or a seasoned CMO, anywhere in between. I just like working and talking with marketers who take this kind of starter mindset and apply it to what they do. I've also a startup founder. So in the past, I've launched a few companies, which are here on the right. Localbound is a little advertising agency, digital advertising agency that I started. Curb Ninja is a mobile app for motorcycle parking. I launched that back in 2014. And Pitch Training Camp was a startup founder pitching, coaching, training class that I ran back in Chicago back in the day, where actually I'm originally from. Then also marketing evangelist. So anytime I get an opportunity to talk about marketing in front of a group of people like you guys, or even non-marketers, but especially salespeople, because we know those salespeople sometimes they just don't get marketing. Any chance I get to share about how awesome marketing is, I get that. I will take that chance. So that's a little bit who I am, and that QR code there, if you guys want to scan that or whatever, that goes to my website. But just looking forward to connecting with you guys. So a few of the major companies I've worked for that maybe you have heard of, or maybe not. Dialpad, which is a universal communications platform company based in San Francisco, pretty large now. They compete with Zoom that we're on today, but also RingCentral, 8x8, some of those guys. Ticketmaster, maybe you guys have a love-hate relationship with them. Worked with them early out of college. Rockbot, which is a music for business platform. I worked for the Tribune Media Group back in the day when they were still selling newspapers and classified ads and stuff. Not to date myself. Maybe some of you guys remember actually looking at classified ads in the newspaper. Other people are like, what's that? Used to work for them. Audience View, with another ticketing platform. And then during college, I actually had a small stint working with the CIA. But don't worry, I wasn't Aspire or anything. I was just actually helping them build a marketing program around marketing their jobs on campus at the school I went to. So kind of interesting little background there. But today, what I'm here to talk to you guys about is all about this post-digital movement that I mentioned that we're moving into. So the things I want you to learn are, number one, what it means to be post-digital. Because again, I said, hey, pop in the chat, tell me if you guys know what it means. Some people do, some people don't, or some people might have a skewed definition. So I want to dig into what it means to be post-digital a little bit. I want to talk to you about how digital marketing has evolved. I think we hear this term like digital evolution all the time, and like how companies are taking a digital evolution and how that's happened to marketing and where we're at today. But now we're kind of moving into this post-digital evolution. So we'll unpack that a little bit. And then I want to also give you guys some post-digital tactics that you can use well with the remainder of your time today, or tomorrow when you get back to work, that you can actually take away from. But lastly, I want you to get excited about doing marketing again. We're finally getting back to some business, some resemblances business as normal. And there's a lot of really cool new things that are happening in the marketing world and will be happening in the future that I think will help to make you guys excited, and things that you can take away and just getting pumped up about it all over again. So this is a great quote here. And this is great because this tells me that digital isn't over, it's just changing. So let me just read it. A post-digital world doesn't mean that digital is over, right? It's on the contrary. We're posing a new question. As all organizations develop their digital competency, what will set you apart? And that's Paul Doe from Accenture as a CTIO. So post-digital doesn't mean that digital is done. It just means that we're taking a different approach to the way that we're doing digital. And the reason that we have to take this approach is that 88% of consumers today are saying that our digital advertising has little to no impact on their purchasing decisions, which is absolutely staggering. So my question maybe to you marketers is, why are we spending all of this time, all of this effort building these digital advertising campaigns when they're not resonating? Why are we spending so much effort building out our social media profiles? Why are we doing anything digitally when 88% of our buyers are saying like, hey, this is like not persuading me whatsoever? So I hope that as we go through this talk, we can kind of uncover what we can do to try to change that a little bit. And that stat, by the way, comes from a Salesforce study where they're actually measuring digital impact. And the question you might be like, hey, why, you might be asking is why in the world is digital having such a low impact? And well, it's because it's just too damn boring, you guys. Can you even tell me, you don't have to answer this. This is rhetorical, but can you even tell me the last digital ad that you saw today? Maybe it was even like you were scrolling through Instagram or something right before you jumped on this call. But can you remember what brand it was for, what message it was, why it was important to you, and did you click on it to buy it? Maybe. I bet you most of you didn't. And part of the reason is that we're just bombarded with digital messages constantly. It never stops. And it's just boring consumers to death. If it's boring you to death as a marketer, it's definitely boring your prospects and your customers to death too. So don't do that. Don't be boring. And hopefully I can show you a little bit how. Now, here's a great representation of what I think digital has become. Billboards on the freeway, we just pass them by nowadays, right? We don't even look at them. But could you imagine when the freeways were first built and they first put up billboards along the highway, and all of a sudden there was these bright colored signs that were telling you to do something, to check out this, to check out that. And I imagine it was probably causing traffic accidents. You're like driving down the road and you're like, oh my gosh, what is that big, huge sign that's all lit up at night? And people are probably causing car accidents. But today you just pass them by. Same thing on our digital highway, our information highway known as the internet, right? The digital advertising that we have is having that same effect. It's starting to kind of go the way of the billboard dinosaur. And sure, there's still billboards up today. You guys are probably driving around in Phoenix. You probably see a ton of them. I see them all over Texas still too. But are they having as big of an impact as they once were? And digital is also starting to suffer that exact same fate. So what the hell is post-digital after all, right? So number one is that digital is the norm. It's no longer a differentiator. And so what I mean by that is if you're doing any sort of unique digital campaign, it's not as unique as you think it is. Having any sort of online presence, whether you've got your advertising running, you've got your content, you got your blog, you've got your social media profiles built up, that's normal now, right? Every company is doing that. It's not a differentiator. It's not something that sets you apart from your competition in any way. And then digital marketing is just marketing today. I think it's funny when I see jobs posted either on LinkedIn, or I see someone's title and it says digital marketing manager or director of digital. And you're just like, bro, that's just marketing. Like like every marketer needs to have some sort of digital acumen in their back pocket, right? Like digital marketing is literally just marketing. They're the same thing. It's nothing special about digital anymore. And that's again, because we're all doing it so much and we all understand what it is. And we have all gotten in the throes of having to take on digital in some sort of way. Customers today are also super entitled. And I think we can all probably rally around that cry that they expect more from us, both from our products, from our services, but also from the experience that they have with us as a brand. And most of our brand experiences are digital, are online today. And so they expect more in the way that we communicate to them, the way that we market to them, the way that we advertise to them. Like it needs to be personal, it needs to fit their use case and their scenario, and they expect it. And if you don't do it, your competitor will, and they're more likely to go to that. So rationalizing and understanding that customers are entitled and building marketing programs around them is a way to move more post-digital. And then digital distinction itself has dissolved. Like, what is the difference between your message being posted in a display ad versus a search ad versus a social media post versus whatever? Like, that message, you may get the repetition, you may get the eyeballs from the customer, and they may have said, okay, I've seen this message 3 different times on 3 different places. Sure, I'll give it a click. But there is no real distinction. You can almost hedge your bets and focus on one channel versus 50 to really hit the right people, because that distinction between them, what really sets one over the other, doesn't really matter unless that's where your customer happens to be. And digital insights today are actually fueling business strategy. So I'm going to talk about kind of how digital has evolved over time in a minute, but I think this thing is really, really interesting, is that what is happening on the digital marketing front and on the marketing front in general, right? Because digital marketing is marketing. On the marketing front in general, is that we're getting so many great data points on what's happening digitally with our customer interactions, whether that's on our website, clicking, purchasing, whatever, advertisements, you name it, different campaigns, that it's actually telling us more about what our customer wants, what their desires are, and how the business should actually, holistically should actually shift around what is learned from marketing. So I think us as marketers have a greater opportunity today to be able to drive what the business strategy and goals should be, so much more than what we did before. Because I think a lot of the times back in the day, marketing was like, that's just branding. How do you measure branding? I don't know. Can we really measure it? I don't know. But today, so much stuff is measurable that we have the unique ability now as marketers to really drive the business and have a say and have a seat at the table, which I think is really cool. And then the organizational culture is also shifting better to meet those customer needs. So I kind of alluded to that a little bit in this last point. But how our companies are actually set up, what the roles are at the company, what in marketing and customer service and sales, they all need to be geared now toward what the customer actually wants and desires out of your brand, out of your business. And so you see a lot of like new kinds of positions that are coming up. There's this whole EXO thing, right? The chief experience officer, or CX, customer experience, instead of just customer support, because it's all about the experience. It's all about how people are perceiving your brand today. So I think that's kind of really interesting. So all of those pieces really kind of wrap up what this post-digital world is. So post-digital is, by definition, the humanistic approach to solving problems, aka marketing. So it's taking the business part out of the way that you're marketing and just doing the human thing, right? Having that face-to-face kind of interaction, having that empathy, putting yourself in the shoes of your buyer, of your customer, of your prospect, and just talking to them like a normal person, as opposed to trying to sell them and market to them so hardcore. So there's this whole movement now, and I actually give a different talk on this, but it's about how B2B and B2C are dead, and what has replaced it is H2H, which is human to human. So no matter whether you're a business who's marketing to consumers or businesses that's marketing to other businesses, at the end of the day, there's a human who's making the decision to buy what you do, or to receive your message, or to understand, or to digest your copy, or whatever it is that you guys focus on. And so we have to think like humans and think, well, how do we want to be, how do they want to be marketed to, versus how do we think that they want to be marketed to? So the humanistic approach, I think, is super, super important. So here's that digital evolution that I was talking about a minute ago. And so it all started back in the day in the pre-digital universe. And this is that universe that I was kind of like halfway between when I was working at the Tribune Media Group back in the day, selling classified ads. They were solely in the newspaper, and then they launched chicagotribune.com, and then we started also putting them online, and it became like an add-on. And then there were other places that the ads started to go, and then I moved into ad support on the marketing front. and it was all about selling our websites and other things, but still very much in the newspaper realm. So if you're thinking like pre-digital, it'd be like newspapers and magazines, TV, your standard out of home, stuff like that. So in pre-digital, the main purpose of marketers and of businesses was to create a one-way communication channel, right? It was like, here's our message, and just put it out there. There was no two-way, there was no hearing back from the customer in any way. The scope of that really was just the media management. It was, okay, well, do we buy an ad in this newspaper? Do we buy an ad in this magazine? How about one TV ad during this specific show? And the dimensions of the insights were really just the segments. It was like, well, are we marketing to men, or marketing to women, families, whatever? And it was just defining those segments and then knowing what media fit into those. And then the insight resources, and this one I think is kind of interesting. The only way that you could get any feedback about your ads at that time, because it was a one-way communication channel, was through third-party panels like focus groups. I've been in quite a few myself, which are mostly about like, now they're more about like, hey, we're thinking about launching a product. What do you think about this? But before digital came in, it was, hey, we ran this ad in this magazine. Subscribers of this magazine, we're calling you into a focus group to see if you saw this ad. If you saw this ad, how did it make you feel? Did it give you warm and fuzzies about the brand? Or did you buy something? And so the only way to figure out any data about the ad's impact was to survey people afterward. And then the whole tech outlook back then was like, I don't need technology. It's all about traditional media. And then the main measurement goal at the end of the day was just brand awareness, because you had no way of knowing if your specific advertisement, your campaign, drove any revenue. You had no way of tracking that. So the only thing that you could chalk it up to the whole time was brand. And that's why I think for the longest time, up until now, while we have that seat at the table, is that business leaders were just synonymizing market with brand building. But we're so much more today. And so today, where we're at and starting to move further forward is in the digital part of the evolution. And the main purpose there is to inspire interactive dialogues, right? Because now we can actually start to have conversations and go back and forth with our customers. We can survey them. We can post an ad and then get them to click through to some sort of other engagement avenue where we can actually have conversations. We have chatbots. We have all these great things that now we can actually learn from them right on the spot. And we're starting to create more of a conversational type of ecosystem. And the scope of that is obviously our digital or mobile engagement. So media management, has become less important, because now we can put it wherever we want. And it's more about, okay, what does the engagement look like digitally, especially on mobile when everyone is tied to their phones all day. And the dimension of insight is coming back to customer identity. So as opposed to just the segment, now it's like, okay, how do we identify our customers? And we're all familiar with ICPs, right? Ideal customer profiles. I'm sure we build them all the time, and you have them in a book that you would go back and refer to, and you go, okay, so we're going to build a new campaign. We got to point to these people. Well, that type of thinking didn't exist in the pre-digital world. That is so much more something that we can use today as a great tool. And then our insight resources are clicks and session activities and click-throughs on the ads, and like how long people are on the website and are they actually buying stuff. So there's so much more stuff that we can actually track. And then the main tech outlook is that tech supports our marketing operations. And so anything that we're operating, any campaign that we're building, we need technology to help operate that, track that back. And that's why we have like marketing ops teams today that focus solely on making sure that the marketing machine is working and running in the background, when our creative marketers, our campaign builders are out doing their thing. And then the measurement goal obviously is campaign results. It's like, okay, what is the campaign driven? How much revenues come out of that? How many click-throughs, how many views, how many email opens, all of that stuff, all stuff that we can do now that we didn't do before. But now moving into the post-digital realm, the main purpose is to solve the customer's unique needs through the brand experience. And the brand can be experienced in so many different places. It could be in a storefront. It could be on a billboard. It can be when they're actually using the product. It can be on your website. There's so many different places that now we can look to as a business and solve the needs of that customer through brand experience. And again, I mentioned before, you have those CX type of roles today. It's all about customer experience, because they understand that the better experience that they have is more of what's going to meet that customer expectation. And the main scope is every way that the customer can experience the brand. So on all those channels I mentioned before, anything, anywhere where the brand can be touched or seen or felt or smelled or any sort of sense, the human sense, that's where we have to make sure that we have some sort of marketing presence. And the main dimension of insight now is customer motivation. So as outside of the brand building and outside of just segmentation, now we can understand like, oh, how motivated is that customer? Are we hitting them within their buying cycle? Maybe today's not the day. Maybe 3 months from now, they're more willing to go out and buy what we're looking to sell. You don't have to guess. We actually can use our data to provide that information to us. How motivated are they to actually refer people to us? I mean, affiliate marketing is blown up right now, and referral marketing, like use my affiliate link, sign up here, bring a friend, get $5 free, like, or get Uber and Lyft are always doing that, right? Like invite a friend, get $5 off your next ride or whatever. Like there's so much of that is happening now. So the question is, how motivated am I as a consumer by that brand experience? Because I had such a great time using your service and experiencing your brand, am I willing to then invite other people to come? And then our insight resources has become more contextual data. So all that data then, as I mentioned before, is really driving what actually is that last thing at the bottom there, which is the business impact. And then of course, tech has become an integral part of to the experience development. We can't do it without it, right? So it was like, I don't need it. It's supporting us. Now it's do or die. We have to be tech enabled in some way. So that's kind of interesting on what has kind of happened on the digital evolution there. Now, this is kind of an interesting phrase, which I actually pulled from a book I'm going to mention in a minute. But it's the idea that the most human company wins. Whoever is the most human, whoever can make the most connections, whoever can be most relatable, most trustworthy is going to win in today's market. Digital and marketing, for that matter, exists to make being human easier, right? It's not the other way around. And what's interesting is that Forrester Research did a survey, they did a report, and they found that there are 3 rules that companies must follow in order to win in today's market. And the number 1 thing is to be human. And so that is focusing on that human experience, understanding the human behind the buyer. What is their decision process like? What are they feeling? Being empathetic, being personable with them, being able to build trust with them, showing them that you're a human too. Like, hey, I get it. I understand where you're coming from. This is how I can help you. The second thing is to be helpful. And that's to give help wherever you can. And maybe that's free help. And I think brands today are doing a great job of, especially where I come from in B2B tech, they're doing such a great job of offering like free tools and free insights and free this and free that and things that are so great that are able to be free. And now we can't all give stuff away, but we can be helpful by either offering free stuff or offering things that drive massive value or some sort of insights. And I think content marketing plays a huge piece in this, but anything where you guys can give help and drive massive value is going to help you be more human as well and help you win. And the last thing is be handy. This one I would think almost goes without saying, but at the end of the day, you want to be easy to work with, right? No one likes to work with a difficult customer service person. No one likes to work with a difficult brand. Like I'm sure you guys would be dying to go get in line at the Arizona DMV and just be there all day trying to renew your license because it's so much fun, right? No, they are so unhandy and so difficult to work with. We do it because we have to, because they have a monopoly over running our IDs and our plate registrations. But it's not like that in our business and our brands. There's always an alternative. There's always a competitor. So you have to be easy to work with. You have to be personable. You have to meet people where they're at and just be an easy, delightful, and create an easy, delightful experience for them. And so the book that I was referring to, if you guys maybe haven't picked up this book before, it's called The Marketing Rebellion. It's by Mark Schaefer. I've actually interviewed him on my podcast, so you can actually check out that interview where we talk about this very subject. It's actually pretty cool. And so it's basically this really great guide into navigating this post-digital world, which is really the humanistic approach to marketing today. And he unpacks how buyers have rebelled over time against stagnant marketing tactics. And I kind of laid that out a little bit in that that digital evolution slide. You know, buyers are saying things like, I'm not keen on the billboards anymore. I don't look at that stuff. I don't like being marketed to or sold to in this way. My expectations have changed. And so his book talks about all of these different rebellions. And he has, I think it's like 4 or 5 of them, if I remember correctly, that have happened over time since like advertising and marketing kind of began. So really interesting book. And his subtitle there actually is The Most Human Company Wins. So you guys should check out his book. And he has podcasts and he's a speaker and just really, really cool insights. He's been around for a long time doing cool stuff. So check that out as well. And so I think something that's really interesting around this is that we're falling short of customer expectations and we're just not meeting them the way that we should with our digital presence today. And so I've got a couple of great points here from that same Salesforce report that I mentioned before about customer engagement. So first thing here is that 68% of customers expect brands to deliver empathy to them, right? To come into their personal situation, understand them as they are as a human, understand them in their experience, while only 37% of consumers say that they're getting it, right? So 68% of them have said, we expect our brands to give me some empathy, but only 37% of those same consumers are saying that they're receiving that from brands. So you can see it's a huge gap there, which is almost, you know, like it can almost seem unsurmountable. But I look at that and I go, oh, anywhere there's a gap, we love doing our gap analyses, right? In marketing, anywhere we see a gap is a huge room for opportunity. So if you can go to those customers who are expecting it and just notch it up, roll out that red carpet, maybe just a little bit further, right, to reach them. Give them just a little bit more of an experience, just help to be a little more empathetic. You're going to wow them. And so they're expecting that you do it, but there's a gap where they're not. So there's still some room for us to grow to make ends meet between these two data points, which I think is really interesting. And then 66% of customers expect that companies understand their unique needs, right? So not everyone has the same use case for your product or service. Everybody's business or personal situation is different. And again, that's why we have to be empathetic and understand them. And so 66% of those customers are saying like, hey, we expect businesses to get this. We expect them to know that we have unique needs and that we want our unique needs served. And then on top of that, only 34% of customers or 34% of those customers feel that companies are treating them as unique individuals. So again, huge gap, right? Over a 30% gap that we can make up and try to wow them and really show them that like, hey, we get that you're unique. Let's see if we can tailor a solution for you. Now, I've had the great fortune of working for some smaller startup / scale up companies in tech. And it's interesting as they kind of try to pioneer either new products or they're maybe trying to move more up market and sell enterprise and do those kinds of things, that it actually gives them the opportunity to be able to pivot quickly on their product and create maybe better products in the market because they were listening to the unique needs of the customer, because they were being empathetic. And so they have the challenge of, we created this great thing, you know, we surveyed some of our customers or we surveyed the landscape and we said, okay, here's a product, we're going to market with this. And then maybe a customer will come in and they'll say, hey, this is a great start, but man, it would be really cool if it did this. And you're just like, light bulb, oh my God, like that's our next feature that we need to have in our solution. And that will really set us apart. So if you're listening to your customers, if you are focusing on customer experience, you're going to get great feedback from them that's going to also help you win. So I think it's also important to listen to them and see those gaps that are in between there and figure out ways of trying to shrink it over time in your business. And so tracking conversations was an interesting tidbit here that I found in that Salesforce report too. And it found that customers using multiple channels has increased over time. So in 2019, 71% of consumers were using multiple channels to interact with and to communicate with a brand. And now, or well, 2020, it was up to 74%. And I'm sure it's going to continue to increase, right? That they're seeing your brand in advertising, they're interacting with you on your social media, maybe they're coming to your blog, they're finding you in different ways, and they're using multiple channels to actually have conversations and to interact with you. I always have this great example of when I was flying and I got, there was like a weather event happening, and I think it was like in Cincinnati or something. I was changing planes to go somewhere. I was flying Delta. And I remember they got on the intercom and they said, "Oh, your flight at this gate is going to be canceled. Come up to the gate and we'll reroute you. We'll put you on a new plane." And immediately everyone got up, and there was a line of like 50 people all in line waiting to talk to the gate agent. Well, I just took out my phone and I just tweeted like to Delta Assist. I said, "At Delta Assist, here's my reservation number. I'm sitting at the gate. Flight got canceled. Can you reroute me?" And they replied back within like 2 minutes. They said, "No problem, Mr. Hines. We got you on this flight. It's gonna be departing out of gate XYZ in 2 hours." So I had a delay, but I did it all right there, right? I didn't have to go see them in person. I didn't go to their website, but I've used a different channel that was now available to me to actually have that conversation. And by the time I got that done, that person I would have been behind in line moved like 2 people up. And so he was probably standing there for like another hour, and I was already going to grab some food. So I think technology has given this ability for, again, consumers to have these greater expectations, right? Because now, if your airline, if you guys work for an airline, I don't know if anybody does, but if your airline doesn't have customer service over Twitter, I'm going to be mad if I have to change something and you don't, and I go to tweet you and you don't answer back, because that now is an expectation. So it's interesting how it's now changed and how they're using different channels now to actually communicate with your brand. And also using multiple devices. So that's clearly on the increase too, right? Travel example, a lot of times when I book my travel, I'm using my laptop, which I'm on today, but then when I'm actually using my ticket and like managing it, I'm using my phone. Looking at like my itineraries, once things are all set up, I'm strictly on this. So multiple devices and multiple channels are all increasing in how brands are communicating, which is why I think, these great like chatbots and website chats and social media and all, and now you can link all these things together, so you can actually grab these people on their different channels and grab them on their different devices and have one seamless conversation with them. I think an expectation probably from customers today is, it's like maybe you started talking with someone on one channel, you started with Facebook chat or something, and then you jumped over to the website, or you call them on the phone and you're like, "Yeah, I was talking to someone yesterday," and they're like, "Oh, we don't have a record of that." It's like, you should have a record of that, right? You should have a record of where all my conversations were coming from. I think that's another one of those expectations that has changed with the way that technology has advanced so much in what we do. So you can tell that to your all your customer experience people, that they need to make sure all those things are locked down. You know what I'm saying? So the top post-digital marketing trends that are things that you probably take home tonight and maybe start applying to what you're working on tomorrow. There's quite a few of them, but I'm just going to share a few in this slide. But number one is personalization and customer experience. So I think I've talked about this to death already, but wherever you can personalize the experience for your customer, make it about them, and then also make that experience fantastic, that's going to be probably your number one thing that you can focus on in this post-digital world. Number two, using video content, right? I think that, video is digital, obviously, and it's hosted on digital platforms, but it gives you so much more of an experience to tell a story, to show the humans behind your business, for people to actually like get a better grasp at like understanding what you do. Again, coming from the tech world, if a tech company maybe that I'm consulting with doesn't already have a demo or one of those cool little explainer videos like on their website that doesn't exist, and they're just leaving people to their devices to just read and try to understand what they do. People want stuff in bite-sized chunks. A video is gonna win people over huge. AI and machine learning are huge parts of this too. It may be counterintuitive to think that artificial intelligence and using machine learning can help you be more human or more post-digital, but it can, because it's going to help you collect that data that then you can implement into campaigns with messaging and an approach that's going to be so much more geared toward the humans that are actually your customers. Voice engagement, podcasts, huge, right? If you can like get what maybe it doesn't make sense for you to start a podcast, but if you can get someone from your brand, like maybe that's your CEO or a great salesperson or somebody to be on a podcast, or even just leave little snippets, anything that you can do with voice, because people hear a voice, they connect with that. That's a human experience to be able to actually hear what someone sounds like. I always think it's funny, like when you're like listening to the radio and maybe you're commuting in the morning and you're like, oh, I feel like I have this bond with the morning radio personalities. And then you go Google what they look like, and you're like, whoa, that is not what I thought they looked like at all. Side anecdote, but that's because like you get so used to just seeing them in one channel. Whereas if you're having video and you're having voice and you're connecting those things together, it just helps to like really show off the humans that are behind your brand and behind what you do, and people are going to connect with that. B2B influencer marketing is big. So not sure our breakdown of B2C, B2B people here. But obviously influencer marketing is huge on the consumer side, but it's also pretty big on the business side too. And well, podcasters could be a great influencer. Bloggers are a great influencer. There's so many influencers out there that also speak to specific things that are happening in business to business that you can reach out to. When I worked at Dialpad, they actually hired this influencer. His name was like Corporate Bro or something. Like he started on Instagram, and they hired him. His whole shtick was like all about tools and things and ways to make your workplace better. And so Dialpad's message was like, hey, we try to make the workplace easier for you because you can work with anywhere with our universal communications, blah, 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 blah. So they actually hired him to put these influencer videos together and to like create content and do all this stuff for him. And I was just like, what a cool job. He got hired and paid thousands of dollars by this company just to like talk about it, like on his blog and on his Instagram and stuff. It's crazy to see what has happened in the influencer world. We can thank our Gen Z friends for that one for sure. Conversational selling is a big part, right? Talked about before in the pre-digital, it was all about one-way communication. Now it's all about how can we have a conversation, really understand the needs of our customers. So whether you're conversationally selling through marketing or conversational marketing, or you're having your salespeople really focus on having a communication as opposed to trying to do that hard sell, really getting to know the customer. What do they need out of your service? Can you provide it? And also sometimes being in that spot to go, hey, we are not the best thing for you. Let me point you to XYZ. And they'll respect that. And they'll go, wow, that was really cool. You didn't try to oversell me. So having a conversation is super important. Visual interactive content is always great to have wherever you can. So website example, I was doing consulting for this property technology company. They created these like digital visualizations of like what an office space could look like. So that way the tenant could like actually see like a 3D model of it before they actually went and ordered all the furniture and built out the walls and stuff. Well, I said to them, I was like, hey, well, you're doing these 3D models, you're showing this. Is there a way we can make a video or do some sort of like demo thing that we could put on the website to actually show people like what the product looked like? And they were like, yeah, I think we could do that. So we actually created this cool little click through. It was almost like a video game thing. And it was this interactive piece that made people really understand like what they were actually buying as opposed to an explainer video or just reading on the website. Account-based marketing, this should be a no-brainer for you guys, but targeting people by account, by their job title, but specifically by account, because you are able to learn more about what their specific business needs versus just kind of like the market in general. Connected digital experiences, so wherever you can have that digital experience across multiple devices. Again, the Delta example that I mentioned, like the tweeting, the website, booking, putting all of those things together in one place. And then hyper localization beyond geography. There's so much more that you can do to localize what people do. The way they behave is in a local essence. They are, you see a lot of this happening right now with like city brands, like, oh, this is my Austin shirt and like keep Austin weird. Like we see a lot of that stuff here. It's like all about ATX food and this kind of stuff. So they're going a little bit a layer deeper into like, actually like playing with people's heartstrings, with the food example or like the swag example there. So they're going a little bit deeper than just on geography. So as far as pillars of the new mix, the number one thing that you guys should focus on is brand accountability. So being accountable, being honest, being truthful, making sure that you have integrity and are holding up to your end of the bargain and what you're actually selling and what you're marketing. Second thing is the customer experience, right? User X, customer X, focus on that experience. I think I've said the word experience probably 53 times in this presentation so far. Sorry about that, but sorry, not sorry. It's really important. The third thing, driving tremendous value. I mentioned this in that Be Human slide, but wherever you can offer value to a customer, to a prospect, they may not even be buying something from you. And as we know, marketing is all about building trust, building a relationship over time, nurturing. And if you can offer tremendous value out of the gate and continue to do that, you will certainly end up with building that trust with that customer and ultimately ending with the sale. And then the last thing is that we can now be data driven in real time. We should always be using all of these great marketing tech stack tools that we have at our disposal to keep track of what's happening digitally, what's happening in person. We can employ all of our skills into making sure that we're logging stuff into campaigns and being able to take that data and pivot if we have to do something last minute in real time. So I think it's really interesting that we have the abilities to do that. So I'll leave you guys with the what can we do. So number one, don't be selfish. Human brands and the ones that win are not selfish. You have to be selfless. You have to serve your customer. It's not always about you, no matter how cool what you do is. Customers don't care. They care about what you can do for them. Secondly, is creatively stand out. So we're marketers, right? Even if we're analysts, even if we're working on data, we can still think creative. There's always a creative strand in every marketer. So think of ways to creatively stand out. Again, deliver massive value, meet expectations, cultivate that user human experience, and then don't ever expect a purchase on a first click. I was reporting to a CRO one time, and he had this brilliant idea to take all of these leads that he had from his old company, throw it into an email campaign against my will, and say, we need to send this email out to all these people. And then he wondered why the email campaign was abysmal and no one clicked and no one purchased. And I was like, well, because no one knows who we are. You just dumped them into our email and made me send this. He's like, well, I don't understand. And I'm like, okay, well, that's a bigger conversation for another day. So that's what you guys can do. Hopefully there were some good nuggets in here for you guys to take away from. And I mentioned my book. If you guys go to tnhines.com/book or scan the QR code here, it'll take you to that same URL. If you'd scan that and fill out the form, I will email you a digital copy because I'm not there to give you a physical one. Next time I'm in town, I'll bring the physical ones. But I will email you one, the actual ebook today if you fill out that form. And then you can also look for it on March 29th on Amazon and wherever else. If you want to get a printed one, that would be awesome. So thank you so much for your time. You can also connect with me via this QR code. QR codes are back in a big way, guys. Have you been to a restaurant lately? Anyway, connect with me on all the social medias at Tim Hines. And if you're interested in actually doing a post-digital audit on your marketing, I also do that too. So thank you so much. I'll kick it back over to Anna. I really appreciate being here with you guys today.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Tim. Really terrific presentation. And I know it got me thinking about things, or even reminding me about things that I hadn't been thinking about. Elizabeth, if you want to grab some of the questions.
Yeah, so you have some questions that were asked to you, Tim, and one of them is, you mentioned in your voice digital marketing trends. What are your thoughts on Clubhouse? Is it really worth to hype, and is it a valuable brand or marketing asset?
Yeah, I think it'll be more valuable once they put it on Android. I'm a Google phone user, so it's invaluable or unvaluable, not valuable at all
Right.
to me right now. I actually had there's this great colleague of mine. Her name is Catherine Brown. She has a book called How Good Humans Sell. You guys should pick it up. Really interesting. She runs a clubhouse where she meets with other salespeople and like offers this like little coaching time. I definitely think that stuff like that is super valuable. And because it's an app and because it just makes it so easy to connect with people and set these little times and set these little meetings, absolutely. That's definitely one way that you can turn a digital experience into a human one.
Great.
Yeah, and you have some other questions that were asked too. Do you think that digital is resonating with consumers unconsciously, even though 88% of consumers say digital ads do not impact their purchase decisions?
Yeah, I think there's some unconscious, a consciousness to seeing it. I think that's where like having that repetition or that reinforcement on multiple channels helps. The things that win though are the things that are more interactive, more visually stimulating, as opposed to like a stagnant thing that you might just scroll past. And I mean, I personally, if you think anecdotally about maybe your experiences as a consumer, I'll be flipping through Instagram because I'm an Instagram addict. I'll see an ad and then maybe I'll see it somewhere else and be like, where did I see that before? And I may not remember where I saw it before, but the question is like, so what if I saw it before? Does that still make me want to buy this thing? Like, is that message that I'm seeing on this other channel any better? I don't know. Usually the things that are more tailored to me, that have more of a message or a product that is something that I'm interested in, based on my interests, which all these tech giants have, usually those things are going to be more apt to driving home for me.
Okay, awesome. And another one is, since digital is the norm, do you feel that it is a must for companies, since you mentioned your competitors will be doing it?
Yeah, absolutely, it's a must. And what I was saying by it's the norm is it's you coming in as a marketer going and saying like, hey, I'm going to help you get a digital campaign going. Like our business expectations are now of like, of course, what else? Why wouldn't you? What else would you do? So you absolutely need to still do digital, but you need to take this post-digital approach to it and try to think outside the box on how you're doing your messaging. If you're saying like, hey, what's going on? Okay, we're running these ad campaigns and no one's clicking. Let's do this clubhouse. Instead of doing that, let's do a sponsored clubhouse. Let's try this out for a month, see how much that does. And then you might go, oh my gosh, look at how much more business we've drawn out of this unique idea that's still using digital, but in a more human way. And that's just all about the testing, I think. But yes, you still need to do something. You need to have the benchmarks, but then it's about how can you be more human and do the little extra outside of the bottom of the, or outside of the bar.
Okay, and you have one more question, but if anyone else has any other questions, feel free to put it in the chat box so then Tim can answer it. The last one is, are you finding that companies now are putting more efforts into customer experience?
100%. I think you're seeing more and more like customer support departments becoming customer experience departments, where they're not just taking the baton from so like marketing passes the baton to the salesperson gets them set up and then passes them over to customer support and it goes, customer support's going to train you, and it's one-way flow, or it has been one-way flow. And I think it's much more coming the other way, where support now is saying things like, hey, we've learned a lot about what the customer wants, what they need, like the way that they're being sold to sucks. They hated the way that this rep did this. Like the marketing, they said the marketing message was blah, but like they really needed this. That's why they bought it. So they're becoming a frontline person or a frontline group that is now driving information the other way. And that's kind of more of why they're starting to focus around customer experience versus just support. So now I think that's one of the cool things about what's happening in today's business. Both in our marketing, it's two-way, and then internally, communications going two ways as well. So I think they're employing more of that kind of thinking and strategy. So I think you'll see much more of that as business continues to change.
Right. Okay. Terrific. Thank you. I do think that was the last question. Tim, thank you very much. Again, a lot of the takeaways that I had are things that really, things you said really made me go, aha, yes, that's so right. One being the most human companies win. Absolutely. As much as we get used to digital, we do want humans, or we do want to like the people we're working with. Digital is the norm, not the differentiator. So again, don't think you're doing something, you know, that others aren't doing. In fact, others might have been doing it long before you. So you definitely need to be there. And customers using more channels to communicate with companies. I think that's really something we have to remember. I know me, I'm at the point in my life that like I have to have the answer now, no matter where I am, I have to have the answer now. And I've also become that person, like right now, I have my laptop, my second laptop, my iPad and my phone all here. And I'm constantly doing something on each of them. And I know that's a little crazy, but I think there's a lot of people that are on at least two things like at one time. So just something to remember. But Tim, thank you very much. And everybody here will be getting your presentation and of course the video. So we really appreciate you being here with us. Excellent presentation. And then I just want to close out. We're pretty much out of time. I just want to close out with telling you what the next event is. And just everybody, if you can keep in mind, we usually do second Thursday. And the second Thursday is a little close to Easter in April. So our next event is going to be on April 7th. And we are having Matt Cates from Prize Logic speak how to gamify your user-generated content marketing strategies. This is going to be a very great, interesting topic that we haven't talked about. So please join us on April 7th and just keep an eye out for the emails. They will be coming out within the next couple of days. And just once again, I would like to thank our sponsors. Many of them have been with us for years. And I would, again, if you have any video needs and you would like to talk with Taylor at Financial Potion, let me know and I will connect the two of you. And then lastly, again, thanking our team, our AMA board members, because we have a great group of people and we're anxious to get back in person with people, and then you can meet some of the board as well. So again, thank you everybody for being here. Thank you for spending your Thursday afternoon with us. Tim, I appreciate you being here and look forward to reading your book. Thank you.
Thank you.
A great remainder of your Thursday, everybody. Bye-bye.